You've been told that meditation brings peace, that sitting in stillness heals anxiety, depression, even PTSD. But what if, for some, silence becomes a storm, thoughts fracturing, reality slipping away? Is it possible that the very practice meant to free the mind could, in rare cases, unmoor it? I'm Silent Flame. In this 8-part investigation, we'll confront the shadow side of practice, the delicate boundary where deep inquiry can tip into psychosis, exploring who's at risk, why it happens, and how to navigate the perils without abandoning the path. To understand how meditation can trigger a psychotic break, we first need clear definitions. Meditation in focus broad umbrella. Concentration, samatha. Insight, vipassana. Mindfulness, sati. Sessions range from a few minutes to months-long retreats. Goals: calm the mind, see thoughts clearly, dissolve ego grasping. Psychosis unveiled. Psychosis: loss of contact with consensual reality, hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thought. Clinical thresholds vary, but key is impairment. One's ability to function socially and recognize the boundary between inner experience and external world. Meditation-related breakdowns. Case studies report onset of psychotic symptoms, voices, paranoia, depersonalization, following intensive practice, termed meditation-induced psychosis, or meditation-related psychotic episode in psychiatric literature. Not just intensity. It's not simply too much sitting. Factors include pre-existing vulnerabilities, trauma history, lack of guidance, abrupt isolation. Even seasoned teachers warn, deep practice without proper container can excavate hidden wounds. We are not demonizing meditation. Rather, we are shining light on the narrow path where insight and instability intersect. Before diving deep, we must face the mind's hidden cracks, wounds and wiring that meditation can pry open. Trauma history. Early life abuse or neglect lays down implicit survival patterns. Meditation stillness can unearth buried memories, flooding consciousness with unintegrated fear. Case: a retreatant with childhood PTSD experienced flashbacks so vivid she believed they were present realities. Genetic predisposition, family history of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or severe mood instability raises baseline risk. Neurochemical shifts from intensive practice may interact with genetic vulnerabilities, tipping the balance towards psychosis. Personality types. Schizotypal traits, high imagination, unusual perceptions, proneness to magical thinking, can unravel into delusional belief under prolonged introspection. High sensitivity. Those with intense sensory processing may experience overwhelming visions or voices in deep absorption. Assessment and screening. Before intensive retreats, mental health screening. Brief questionnaires, clinical interviews can flag risk factors. Ethical retreat centers require disclosure of psychiatric history and may recommend physician approval. Meditation magnifies who we are, our light and our shadows. Knowing our starting point helps us tread safely. In deep practice, the veil between conscious and unconscious thins. Unprocessed traumas, long buried in the neural undercurrents, can erupt like submerged volcanoes, turning silence into a storm. Neurobiological floodgates. Meditation downregulates the prefrontal guard, reducing fight-flight vigilance. In this relaxed state, limbic structures, amygdala, hippocampus, replay traumatic memories without contextual filters. Case vignette. A practitioner practicing open awareness reported involuntary reliving of childhood abuse, complete with sensory hallucinations and loss of temporal orientation, dissociation and depersonalization. Intense samadhi can precipitate dissociative states, feelings of detachment from body, time, and identity. While brief dissociation may be benign, prolonged episodes mimic psychotic break symptoms. Example: a meditator describing watching my body breathe from outside, unable to recall basic facts about themselves, precipitating panic and confusion. Emotion overwhelm. Trauma often encodes as sensoromotor imprints. Deep stillness dissolves the cognitive layer, thrusting raw emotional charge to the surface. Anger, terror, shame, without ready coping strategies. Clinical report. During a long retreat, eruptive grief led one student to believe they were possessed, hearing accusatory voices reflecting internal shame loops. Boundary collapse. The distinction between inner and outer reality blurs. Thoughts feel as real as external events. This collapse of ego-world boundaries is a hallmark of psychotic episodes. Illustration: a retreatant saw retreat leaders transform into persecutory figures, triggering flight behaviors and hospital admission. To learn how to steer through these breakdowns, we must examine real cases and the interventions that restored stability without abandoning practice. Case study A. The Vigilant Novice. A 28-year-old with undiagnosed bipolar spectrum vulnerability entered a 10-day silent retreat. On day 6, manic imagery exploded. Visions of cosmic battles, hours of sensory hallucinations, total insomnia. Intervention: a senior teacher introduced grounding techniques, eyes open walking, tactile focus on a wooden bead mala, and involved a psychiatrist who provided low-dose anxiolytics. Full remission occurred within days. Practice resumed under close supervision. Case study B. The Refugee Healer. A war-traumatized volunteer found meditation triggering flashbacks so vivid she believed she was back on the battlefield. She developed a paranoia that fellow retreatants intended harm. Support model: integration of trauma-focused EMDR sessions between meditation periods, plus peer-led sharing circles where her experiences were normalized, gradually restoring trust and reality orientation. Therapeutic Sangha clinics integrating Dharma and psychiatry, e.g., meditation-assisted psychotherapy, create therapeutic sanghas, where vulnerable individuals receive both compassionate peer support and clinical care. Best practice: small group check-ins, immediate debrief after intense sessions, access to mental health professionals on site. Screening and risk management. Pre-retreat screening tools, brief mood and psychosis inventories help identify at-risk practitioners. Informed consent includes psychoeducation about possible adverse effects. Retreat protocols stipulate graduated entry. Novices begin with short sittings and build up, while high-intensity practices require prior trauma therapy clearance. By integrating clinical insight with compassionate container holding, we can honor meditation's power while safeguarding vulnerable minds. Most of us meditate alone, without teachers or structures. Yet self-awareness and simple safeguards can keep practice healing rather than harmful. Self-assessment tools, daily mood logs, track shifts in mood, sleep patterns, and thought clarity. Sudden spikes in anxiety or confusion may signal creeping overwhelm. Boundary signals. Notice when meditation stops feeling restorative and starts triggering agitation, intrusive memories, or dissociative episodes. Graduated practice plans. Time dose principle. Begin with short sets, 5 to 10 minutes, gradually increasing only when stable. Sprint to marathon length sittings invites overwhelm. Technique, rotation, alternate concentration, loving kindness, and mindful movement prevents habituation and excessive narrowing of awareness. Grounding anchors. Sensory points. Incorporate momentary 5-4-3-2-1 techniques, naming 5 colors, 4 sounds, 3 textures, 2 scents, 1 taste, to return to embodied presence if mind drifts into crisis. Movement breaks. Every 20 to 30 minutes of seated practice, stand and walk mindfully, feeling heel-toe contact, expanding the field to body and environment. Safe context creation practice. Buddies. Pair up with a meditation partner for check-ins before and after sessions. A brief phone call or message exchange can provide vital grounding. Designated retreat zones. Choose a calm, uncluttered spot. Keep a soft light, water, and a small anchor object, e.g. a stone or mala, within reach as reminders of safety and intention. Red flags and pause points. If vivid trauma memories, persistent derealization, or hearing voices occur, pause formal sitting and switch to gentle movement, yoga, walking. Seek out a qualified guide, teacher, therapist, or peer support group before resuming intensive practice. A meditation teacher is more than a technique instructor. They are guardian of the field where insight and vulnerability meet. Building trust and transparency. Pre-practice agreements. Clearly outline retreat or course structure, potential risks, and available support channels. Disclosure culture. Encourage students to share mental health history confidentially. No stigma, just pragmatic care. Active monitoring. Regular one-on-one check-ins. Scheduled interviews allow teachers to gauge each student's experience, adjust instructions, and identify early signs of distress. Group observations. Teachers watch body language, facial cues, and group dynamics. Subtle changes can signal individual struggle. Intervention methods. Gentle de-escalation. When distress arises, shift from silent sitting to guided movement, simple chanting, or paired reflection to break isolation. Professional referrals. Establish relationships with mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, who understand contemplative contexts. Ethical boundaries. Avoiding authority abuse. Power imbalances can deepen vulnerability. Teachers must cultivate humility, welcome feedback, and never exploit trust. Duty of care versus autonomy. Balance student freedom with protective oversight, knowing when to slow or stop a student's progression to safeguard well-being. Continuing education for teachers. Trauma-informed training. Teachers benefit from learning about trauma responses, dissociation, and psychosis so they can respond with skillful compassion. Peer supervision. Regular teacher support circles prevent burnout and ensure ethical practice standards remain high. Meditation is a sacred gift, and with it comes responsibility to ourselves, our community, and the integrity of the path. Informed consent risk disclosure. Before any intensive practice, participants must understand potential psychological risks. No surprises. Voluntary participation. Uphold the principle that no one is coerced. Withdrawal rights must be clear and respected, balancing autonomy and care. Self-regulation practices. Teach students to self-monitor, yet maintain safety nets, emergency contacts, buddy systems, teacher availability. Stepped care models. For those at higher risk, offer tiered support, from peer mentoring to integrated clinical care. rather than blanket exclusion. Community responsibility, shared vigilance. Sangha members watch out for one another, encouraging early help-seeking and mutual support. Non-judgmental space. Cultivate an environment where reporting distress is met with empathy, not stigma. Transparency, post-crisis case. Debriefs, with confidentiality, share lessons learned from psychosis incidents to improve protocols and deepen collective wisdom. Policy revisions. Use real-world feedback to refine screening tools, retreat guidelines, and teacher training curricula. Honor the path and the practitioner. Remember that safeguarding practice integrity goes hand in hand with honoring the dignity of each practitioner, preserving meditation as a force for healing, not harm. When intensive retreats strip away daily supports, the design of the retreat container itself becomes critical to prevent crises. Gradual intensification, tiered retreat tracks, novice, intermediate, and advanced tracks with clearly defined entry requirements. Novices start with silent mornings and guided afternoons. Advanced practitioners may sit longer, but only after prior screening. Incremental sitting durations. Rather than jumping into 10-hour days, retreats should build from 1-hour sits to 3, 5, then 8+, with rest periods between each stage. Buddy and oversight systems paired supporters. Each participant has a retreat buddy, checking in multiple times daily, watching for signs of distress or dissociation. Teacher rounds. Senior teachers rotate through meditation halls and hermitages multiple times a day, pause and practice if needed, and offering brief guided interventions. Structured breaks and integration sessions. Daily integration circles. Short group sharing, 10 to 15 minutes, each evening to discuss challenges and insights, normalizing ups and downs. Periodic movement workshops. Twice daily, guided yoga or mindful walking sessions reintegrate body and mind, reducing dissociative risk. Medical and psychological support. On-site clinicians. A psychologist or psychiatrist on call for assessment and brief intervention when psychotic symptoms emerge. Crisis protocols. Clear emergency procedures. If a participant experiences hallucinations or delusions, retreat practice halts, and the team convenes to decide on continuation, modification, or referral. Environmental safeguards. Safe spaces. Designated quiet rooms with soft lighting, comfortable seating, and calming objects, plants, art for those needing respite. Controlled sensory input. During deep practice days, limit loud noises, flashing lights, and strong smells that could trigger sensory overwhelm. Documentation and feedback loops. Incident logs. Confidential records of any psychological incidents to refine retreat design. Participant surveys. Post-retreat feedback on safety, support effectiveness, and areas for improvement ensures protocols evolve. A retreat container is more than schedule and walls. It's the ecosystem in which deep minds roam. Thoughtful design keeps that roaming safe and nourishing. Practitioners. Meditation's benefits should be accessible to all, including those with trauma histories and neurodiversity. But standard formats often exclude or endanger these practitioners. Inclusivity demands adaptability. Trauma-sensitive modifications. Choice and agency offer multiple posture options, seated, lying, standing, so practitioners aren't trapped in triggering positions. Opt-out signals. Visual cards or hand signals to request guidance without breaking silence. Empowers participants to pause without stigma. Narrative briefings. Pre-retreat sessions explaining how trauma may surface, normalizing reactions, and introducing grounding practices. Neurodiverse accommodations, sensory adjustments, provide noise-cancelling headphones or earplugs for those sensitive to ambient sounds, offer fidget tools or tactile objects for grounding, flexible scheduling. Some neurodivergent minds thrive on routine, others need breaks unpredictably. Retreats can include unscheduled open periods for self-care, alternative communication, written instructions, supplemented by visuals for those with language processing differences, peer ally programs, buddy pairing, by need, match trauma, survivors with trauma-informed buddies, pair autistic participants with neuro-affirming allies to support mutual understanding, Sangha circles, small group circles led by peer facilitators trained in trauma and neurodiversity awareness, fostering solidarity and reducing isolation. Curriculum adaptation, short-form practices, introduce brief 5 to 7 minute mindfulness micro-practices interwoven into the day for those who struggle with long sights. Creative alternatives, use art-based mindfulness, mandala painting, movement, to anchor awareness in non-linguistic modalities. Paced progression, graduated skill lists where practitioners earn levels of practice, celebrating milestones and preventing skill gap overwhelm. Outcome tracking and research, mixed methods. Evaluation, combine quantitative measures, anxiety scales, mood inventories, with qualitative interviews to assess safety and efficacy for diverse populations. Collaborative studies, partner with trauma and autism research centers to develop evidence-based guidelines, ensuring ethical and effective inclusion. True inclusivity isn't mere tolerance. It's co-creating practice forms where every mind finds its seat at the table of awareness. As the awareness movement grows, mental health professionals are weaving meditation into therapy, crafting a new discipline, mindful psychiatry. Origins and principles. Pioneered by John Kabat-Zinn's MBSR and Marsha Linehan's DBT, mindful psychiatry integrates meditation techniques with evidence-based frameworks. Core tenet: teach clients to observe inner experiences with curiosity, reducing reactivity and building resilience. Integrated treatment models, group-based programs, clinics offering 8-week mindfulness courses alongside pharmacotherapy for depression, anxiety, PTSD individual therapy. Therapists trained in both clinical skills and contemplative practice tailor meditative exercises to each client's diagnosis and history. Case study: the integrative clinic. At a leading psychiatric center, patients with treatment-resistant depression underwent combined MBSR and low-dose SSRIs. Results: 60% reported substantial mood stabilization and fewer intrusive thoughts. Protocol: daily guided meditation, weekly psychoeducation, and bi-weekly medication reviews, ensuring safety and efficacy. Challenge of psychosis. While mindfulness helps many, those with psychotic vulnerabilities require modified approaches, shorter sits, less emphasis on open awareness, more guided anchoring. Some clinics employ compassion training instead of pure mindfulness to avoid triggering depersonalization. Training the clinicians. Psychiatrists and psychologists receive modules on trauma, neurodiversity, and meditation-induced risks, fostering a trauma-informed contemplative care model. Ongoing supervision and consultation with meditation teachers ensure ethical and skilled implementation. Mindful psychiatry doesn't pit science against tradition. Instead, it handcrafts a vessel where inquiry and care flow together. As awareness of meditation-related risks grows, specialized centers worldwide have emerged, melding contemplative traditions with clinical safeguards to support both healing and insight. The Mindful Health Collective, USA, located within a major academic medical center, this program offers week-long retreats co-led by psychiatrists and senior Dharma teachers. Participants undergo psychiatric screening, receive daily group therapy, and practice guided meditation adapted to varying vulnerabilities. Outcomes data. Over 400 alumni showed a 45% reduction in severe anxiety symptoms and reported no adverse psychotic incidents, attributed to the center's rigorous risk management and close clinical observation. Thorns and Lotus Retreat, UK, a rural retreat where trauma-informed mindfulness instructors collaborate with licensed therapists. Facility design includes sensory-controlled chalets and 24/7 restoration rooms, staffed by mental health nurses. Unique feature: midday integration circles that blend Buddhist inquiry with cognitive behavioral exercises, ensuring that emotional surfacing is grounded in talk therapy before evening silent sits. Urban Dharma Psychiatry Clinic, Japan, combining Zen monastic lineages with modern psychiatry. This Tokyo clinic integrates Zazen with psychodynamic counseling. Patients attend daily meditation, receive art therapy sessions, and consult psychiatrists versed in both pharmacology and Dharma psychology. Report: schizophrenia spectrum clients using abbreviated micro-sit protocols experience fewer hospitalization days and reported enhanced self-compassion, underscoring the viability of meditation with proper dosing. Vajra Mind Institute, India. Situated near traditional Vajrayana monasteries, this institute offers a 3-month shelter combining ritual practice, cognitive neuroscience seminars, and peer-led sharing groups. Emphasis on heart practice, loving kindness and Tonglen provides an alternative to open awareness for trauma survivors. Longitudinal study. Participants demonstrated stable reductions in PTSD scores at 6 and 12-month follow-up, with no increased psychosis risk, indicating that compassionate cultivation can shield against destabilization. These centers illustrate that when ancient Dharma methods join forces with modern clinical protocols, we create safe bridges across the chasm between transformative insight and psychological well-being. Therapists and teachers working side by side need clear frameworks to honor both clinical ethics and contemplative integrity. Joint training curricula, dual certification programs. Emerging courses certify clinicians in both trauma-informed care and mindfulness teaching, ensuring fluency in recognizing symptoms of psychosis and in guiding contemplative practice. Supervised practicums. Trainees co-lead guided sites under senior supervision, alternating roles as therapist and meditation teacher, honing skills in boundary-crossing interventions. Collaborative session, design integrated agendas. A typical session begins with a short clinical check-in, transitions into a tailored meditation segment, and concludes with therapeutic reflection, balancing inward focus and outward processing. Gatekeeping protocols. Clear criteria. Define when to pause meditation for psychological debrief. Symptoms like intrusive imagery or disorientation trigger immediate shift to talk therapy mode. Ethical considerations and consent. Informed co-consent. Participants sign consent forms covering both therapeutic and contemplative aspects. understanding confidentiality boundaries and potential referral processes, scope clarity, facilitators outline their roles, psychotherapist or meditation teacher, to prevent role confusion and maintain trust, emergency response planning, on-call teams, establish 24/7 access to on-site clinicians who can convene rapid response if a participant exhibits acute psychosis signs, hallucinations, severe dissociation, or self-harm ideation, transition pathways, pre-arranged referral agreements with local psychiatric hospitals ensure seamless care escalation without crisis fragmentation. Co-facilitation is a delicate dance of expertise when therapists and teachers move in harmony. The space held can contain both the fire of insight and the fragility of trauma. Looking ahead, the integration of meditation and mental health calls for robust research, thoughtful policy, and shared community standards to guide practice safely. Research collaborations, neurophenomenology projects, teams of neuroscientists and contemplatives study brain signatures of deep practice, aiming to identify early biomarkers of destabilization before full-blown crisis. Longitudinal cohorts, multi-year studies tracking diverse meditation groups, retreatants, clinical clients, Sangha members, to map risk-benefit trajectories and refine screening algorithms. Policy development accreditation bodies, proposals for National Meditation Program, accreditation with standards for safety protocols, teacher qualifications, and incident reporting, akin to mental health licensing boards. Insurance frameworks, advocacy for insurance coverage of integrative treatment, incentivizing clinics to adopt evidence-based mindful psychiatry, and reducing financial barriers for at-risk populations. Community guidelines, open source protocol repositories, online platforms where retreat centers and clinics share their screening tools, emergency plans, and incident case studies, promoting transparency and collective learning. Ethical code of conduct, a global manifesto drafted by Dharma and mental health leaders delineating commitments to do no harm, respect autonomy, and uphold dignity in all meditation contexts. Cultivating a culture of care, Sangha-wide education, regular workshops and publications for meditation communities on recognizing psychosis signs, supporting peers, and destigmatizing help-seeking, emergent ethics dialogues, spaces where teachers, clinicians, and practitioners co-create evolving standards, acknowledging that safety and insight must advance hand in hand. The path forward demands both visionary research and grounded policy. Only then can meditation's promise flourish without forsaking the vulnerable among us. We've walked the razor's edge, where silence becomes sanctuary, and, for some, a crucible of chaos. We've seen how trauma, wiring, and unguarded intensity can fracture the mind's mirror. We've learned to build safe containers, home practices grounded in self-knowledge, retreats scaffolded by checks and balances, and clinics that weave Dharma with care. We've met practitioners reborn by grace and guided by science, witnessing awakening's spectrum from sudden flash to slow sunrise. Now, let go of fear and dogma alike. Recognize that meditation is neither panacea nor poison. It is a magnifier of what already lives in you. Let curiosity lead. Inspect your shadows with compassion. Honor your limits with respect. And kindle the silent flame of balanced awareness. I am silent flame. Carry this final word as torch and mirror. Practice bravely, but practice wisely. Explore boldly, but hold yourself gently. May your journey be a testament to courage, tempered by care, awakening that heals rather than harms the heart.